Okay, today we are playing a game on King's Row. We are playing Zenyatta on defense and Tracer on attack, with a couple of other heroes sprinkled in now and then, and this was a competitive game, but it happened during the off-season, so who knows what the SLR is up to. It was estimated to be mid-plat, but it's also was during the off-season, so I doubt people were taking it super seriously anyway, as evidenced by the team comp, which is terrible, but more specifically, it's Zarya, Tracer, Widowmaker, Hanzo, Mercy, and Zenyatta. So, the issue with our team is that it has basically no presence on it at all. The only way we capture anything with this team is if we pick off a lot of people back-to-back very quickly. So, it's not the most consistent team comp I've ever seen. I don't think you have to imagine too hard to think of a better one. So, let's start the game. We do play a bit of Widowmaker and McCree on attack as well, but not very much. Not enough that I felt like I had to put them in the thumbnail, you know? So, anyway. So, we're gonna start off by playing a bit of the long con. First off, we should pick up the health kit before we go in, because we are not at full HP, and Tracer walking around at not full HP is not very good. So we should have picked up the health kit before we started doing this. I generally don't recommend plays like this, where you spend like a lot of time creeping around trying to get somewhere, just because if it doesn't work out, you've wasted a lot of time. This does almost work out, because we get right on the Tracer, she floats away from us, and we don't quite finish her off because we feel like we have to press recall early, which we probably didn't, probably because we blinked like through their tank line to try and make it happen, but if we were like full HP when we did that, maybe we wouldn't have felt so pressured like we had to do it. Maybe then we could have like tried to chase it down a little bit more, seeing as she did almost die. We even had two snipers and they couldn't finish off this Mercy that was running around nearly dead, so isn't that a sad day? So we are focusing their Mercy very hard, as one does as Tracer. This is generally how you want to go. So we're now can't quite get to their Mercy right now, so we're just gonna heckle their Symmetra instead. Oh god, everything starts going really terrible, but we slide back out because for Tracer, we can get out of a lot of hairy situations, and we manage to pick off Symmetra as we slide away. Now we've almost got Pulse Bomb. We go right in, just kind of like lob the Pulse Bomb at their feet. I mean, what the fuck what just happened here? What? I pushed the back arrow, but apparently that was not allowed, because we've gone all the way back to the absolute start of the video, so this is too far. This is too far. We need to go back. Oh, professionalism. Is this is... Okay, there we go. There we go. We found it. We've got them back. So, we just kind of chuck it at their feet. These people, I, don't really consider worth the Pulse Bomb, because it was Baby D.Va and Widowmaker. I would have saved it to try and pick off the Mercy instead, because Mercy's a more high priority than them, but at the same time, just killing two people with the Pulse Bomb would be pretty sick as well. But they were, low and not super high priority targets, so I just wouldn't have been... I don't think I would have used the Pulse Bomb on them. I think we could, but at the same time, you do just want to use the Pulse Bomb as quickly as possible, so, you know... There's two different lines to take there. I don't think they were a high enough priority to deserve it, but the other line is, well, you want to use Pulse Bomb as quickly as possible, and there were two people there we could try and kill with it, so it depends on how you want to look at it, basically. So Symmetra's thrown down her teleporter in front of us. Unfortunately, there's, people here as well, so we don't get to just break the teleporter. And then D.Va pops out again, but... yeah, whatever, I'm more interested in the teleporter, and she doesn't go and touch the point because it would be foolish for her to do so, frankly. So we've gotten most of our ult back again because we've been farming D.Va for a while, which is cool. Tracer builds up her ultimate quite quickly, so we do want 3 people on the payload, so we've come back to touch the payload. We don't really want to as Tracer, but, you know, you do want 3 people on the payload, and everybody was, running off and leaving the payload, as they do. So, Zarya had Graviton, which we'd love to combo Pulse Bomb with, because that's the strongest ult combo in the game, because it kills you through Transcendence. And Moira's ult in the near future as well, will kill you through that as well. But Zarya decided to use it on just the D.Va after the fight was over, so... whatever. Now we're gonna heckle this soldier. I wouldn't. There's, no point. This is already over and done with. The soldier's out here by himself. He shouldn't get out with his life anyway. And killing him right there with the like, it staggers him, but I don't think it's worth the pulse bomb to make it happen, considering nothing's really happening at the time anyway. And he shouldn't get out from that position regardless. Like, he shouldn't get away from that one. So, we're almost at the end of the street phase, and we haven't had too much resistance, because it is the street phase, and we had some ultimates as we started coming through it, so you know how it is on King's Row. So, they are now using ultimates, they're using Tac Visor and such. Tac Visor is now dead, and Zenyatta's using Transcendence, so we're coming out to start fighting again. Reinhardt was not allowed to do that, and he only pinned the Zenyatta, who was in Transcendence, so it didn't really get very much accomplished. So we've got our Pulse Bomb back up again, because we have been hitting people quite consistently, and Pulse Bomb charges very quickly. So we could try and stick this dude, but we're probably feeling confident enough we can try and kill him without it, because it is a Zenyatta, who is not usually great at, defending himself against a Tracer. And then, we do actually hear Tracer coming behind us. We see her as well, but then we hear her blinking up behind us, and we don't react to it until it's already too late. Realistically, you're probably fucked regardless by the time you get into that position, but if we hear the Tracer coming, maybe we can put the moves on her with our own blink as well, but by that point, it's kinda already over. We had lost the fight, so we had to regroup anyway, which is very unfortunate, because we got it to the end of the street phase, and now we have to regroup on the other side of the street phase. It's very sad. It can be a very tragic point to lose momentum on for this reason. It's just doesn't typically happen, because it's so hard for the defenders to defend. So we've got Pulse Bomb, Graviton was up, we got our play of the game right there. Zenyatta's using Transcendence. He shouldn't be doing that, because the fight is already over, and he's just wasting an ultimate for nothing. But whatever, if he wants to do it, we'll let him. And then there's a win. They're not gonna make it happen. They end up dragging out their deaths for a really long time, so they end up staggering themselves, so that's not good either. We run into their Tracer. We don't want to get into a fight with another Tracer as Tracer, because it just tends to be a big waste of time for all parties involved. Certain matchups not worth bothering with. Any of the flankers versus another of the flankers is not worth it. Pharah versus Pharah, not worth it. Because, like, best case scenario, you kill the person, but it's pretty unlikely that happens, and even if you do, it will have taken so long that it was not worth the effort. I'm sure you know this, because we tried very hard to avoid the Tracer during this game, but, you know, just generally, these are not matchups we want to get involved in. So their team is a little bit awkward for us at this point, because of what their DPS are. Because now they have Tracer and Widowmaker as their DPS, and, like, it's not that Tracer is bad against Widowmaker per se, unless the Widowmaker is a god, in which case, yes, you are bad against Widowmaker, but because everybody is if the Widowmaker's a god. It's just that now we can't realistically expect to get to many of their DPS on this map, because Tracer we already don't want to get into a fight with, because we just established the reasons why. It's going to be a big waste of time for all parties involved. But Widowmaker is, like, probably gonna be up. It's not gonna draw. God damn it, I hate this program so much. Hold on. Because Widowmaker is generally gonna be up here, which we can't get to as Tracer on this map, because there's nothing for us to, well, I think we can if we, like, get up here, and then blink across there, but that's a lot of steps required. And also, Widowmaker can just shoot at us as we're doing that, so realistically, we can't get up to the Widowmaker. So, and if she's not there, she's gonna be even further back on the other one, so, and then the other DPS is, Tracer, so we can't really fight very many of them. We can just say, fuck it, I don't care, because I'm just gonna focus more on the supports instead. But now Mercy always has a Widowmaker to try and go to get out of the way, and so that basically only really leaves us with Zenyatta as an actual target, because Mercy will probably just float away to the Widowmaker. Assuming she plays well, which we should assume the enemy team is gonna play well until shown otherwise. So, Tracer at this point is gonna be pretty awkward to work with. Genji would be better at this point, because Genji can realistically get to the Widowmaker and also follow the Mercy if she floats up to the Widowmaker, as well as just generally still being good against supports. But we end up changing to McCree and Widowmaker as well. And we seem, based off the like 30 seconds we play as Widowmaker, it seems like we're pretty good at Widowmaker. So I've also spoiled that our Widowmaker must eventually change during this round. Their Widowmaker has just thrown herself off the map, however, so that's pretty cool for us. We've gotten Pulse Bomb back up again because it just charges very quickly. We have almost blinked off the edge of the map. I was quite scared during the replay. First time watching it through, I was like, oh, we were right next to the edge, but we didn't quite fall. So this Tracer, like, really fucking wants us. We are, and then we just decide, fuck it, I'm not going to get out with my life, I'm just going to throw myself off the edge, which is fair enough, because we probably weren't going to get out with our life. We end up missing the Pulse Bomb on the Mercy, which is unfortunate. It seems very forced by that point, because we know the Tracer is following us, and we don't want to fight the Tracer, so we're just always running away from the Tracer. But the Tracer really fucking wants us, so it seems like we feel pressured into trying to make it work, even though it's kinda, and we end up missing it, which is unfortunate. It seems a bit panicked and rushed, which is generally not the best way to go about the game, just in general. But if you're sort of stressed when you ult, it's probably not going to be a super good ult. So our team is currently dead. They've been dying for a while, and we're just waiting for everyone to get back right now. We end up missing the Tracer, which is unfortunate. In this kind of position, this Tracer doesn't know you're here, because if she would be looking at you if she did. Shooting gives yourself away, so we don't know if this mattered, because the Tracer might have just blinked at this point as happenstance, but she doesn't know you're here. You can just walk up behind her and flashbang her, and then kill her when she's flashbanged. Shooting beforehand gives you away, and it might have been the thing that made her blink. We don't know, but if you're behind someone, there's like the line that's like, well, you should be able to shoot them still, but it's like, why even take the chance? If you're behind them and they don't know you're there, and you're in a position to reasonably flashbang them, it's better to just wait and flashbang them and then, like, guaranteed kill them. When shooting them, maybe you don't kill them, and then they get away because they have the knowledge coming up, you know. So we do stun the Tracer this time, but we were around the corner as it happened, so we didn't actually get to finish her off. I don't like coming this way as McCree, or Soldier as well, because this isn't really a great line of sight, just like out this way, because there's a wall in the way, so you always like have to jump down here, but then you're kind of like right next to the enemy team. I prefer to just like go this way, and then stand over on this side, because there's a couple of reasons. There's more cover over here, for one thing, and there's a large health kit back here as well. And also, you have more ways you can try to advance, because you can just come down there, you can go down there, or you can go over on the other side as well. So, coming over this way is very limited. You don't actually get a great line of sight, and you tend to pop out right in front of the enemy team, which is very scary. Hanzo is using the wolves right now, so there's that, but just standing down here is a lot more scary than just standing up on the slight bit of high ground on the ledge behind you. It's just harder to get to you up there, and like, it's still within McCree's range, and Soldier's range as well. Obviously, Soldier's range is longer than McCree's, so, you know. We are McCree, though, so we are better at, like, standing near people. D.Va kind of pops out right in our face right here. Tracer's dead now, and we've managed to build up High Noon, because we've just kind of been farming D.Va for a while. D.Va can just end up being a big old ult battery for the enemy team. A big part of playing D.Va and Roadhog is not being an ult battery for the enemy team, because you are, of course, very easy to hit. So, we know they have a Widowmaker, so this is very scary that we do this at all, where we just kind of walk straight down the open area. You don't really want to do that in general, because just walking through open space is scary anyway. Just like, we know there's a Widowmaker here, so this is worse, but just like going like that is not a great idea. Positioning is very hard, because it's something that you're always doing, and this is something that you kind of need to just keep in the back of your mind. When you're moving somewhere, you always want to be near something you can use as cover, so just rather than going like that, just straight down the center, we should go like that. Because then we can use this wall as cover. And we can, like, peek in here and then peek out the doorway. there's something we can use as cover, and we aren't exposing ourselves to Widowmaker as well. So there's like two parts. It's cover, and Widowmaker can't see us. Because you can't realistically kill a Widowmaker as McCree, because it's just not feasible. Because of range discrepancies and like hitboxes and time it takes to kill. It's just not really feasible. So the best you can kind of do is just ignore the Widowmaker and play out of her line of sight as much as possible. This is the thing that this is the issue people have with Widowmaker, where they just like don't respect the fact there's a Widowmaker on the enemy team, and that gets people killed a lot. If there's a Widowmaker on the enemy team and you aren't playing someone that can realistically kill Widowmaker, like Winston, D.Va, another Widowmaker, Genji. If you're not playing someone like that, you can't realistically kill Widowmaker. So you just want to not be in Widowmaker's line of sight, because you have to acknowledge the fact she can one-shot you. Even if you think she's bad, she can one-shot you, and like, law of averages, she's gonna hit you eventually. So you just kind of have to, like, respect that as well. But just generally, we don't want to be walking out in open space either, because we always want to be near something we can use as cover. So we are inside this room now. There's a Tracer bouncing around out here. We end up not hitting with the flashbang. We can infer she probably has recall up at this point, because we saw her die, and now she's come back to this fight. So she probably hasn't recalled yet. So she is gonna... If she's smart, she's gonna wait until she thinks you're gonna throw the flashbang, which would be right around there, so we should have held it. This we are not allowed to do because we know that Tracer is in the area. And she just pops out behind us and shoots us. We know Tracer's in the area. We can't lock on to anybody quick enough. Even if we were trying to lock on to Tracer, she could just blink up and kill us before we would lock on to her from that position. So we're just not allowed to do that from that position. So now we change to Widowmaker for the last few seconds of this round. And we play pretty well as Widowmaker. I mean, it's like a 30-second period, but there's a lot of, we play the scope game, we move around, keeping mobile and such, we shoot the enemy Widowmaker, we aim well, so, we play Widowmaker pretty well. There's not much to say about Widowmaker other than aim better in a lot of cases, unless positioning is terrible. Do kill their Widowmaker, because she was looking at Hanzo instead of us, which made it easy for us. Widowmaker is, of course, good against Mercy as well, because, well, you can just kill a Mercy in Valkyrie as Widowmaker. You still have to be good, obviously, but it's easier to make it happen as Widowmaker than most other people. Good use of the Venom Mine, which catches the, Tracer. We kind of get a little flustered when D.Va pops out right next to us, but because D.Va's up here, she's not touching the payload, so it ends up, we just win the round. So, now we're going to play Zenyatta for the rest of the game, and you can probably tell by the length of the video left that, yeah, they don't get the first checkpoint. So, we play pretty well as Zenyatta as well, where we sit really far back, and we don't get threatened by very many things because we are really far back. We call out what our Discord orb is on, which I find to be dreadfully unnecessary and tedious, but quite a lot of people prefer to have the Zenyatta call out who they have discorded, so there's, communication happens, and that's cool, even though I don't personally care about, communication that much, because I hate people, and I prefer not to talk to them. So, there isn't very much to say about the Zenyatta sequence. I think we used the right-click more than we needed to, but I am on record as thinking Zenyatta's right-click is really bad, and I will fight anyone who wants to argue about it. You can meet me in the pit if you want. Like, right here, I don't agree with that. Starting to charge the right-click, just, like, look for her and put the Discord orb on her, and then start left-clicking. I hate Zenyatta's right-click, and someone is always upset about it. Like, here we're tracking a Discord orb through the wall, which I think is a fair enough use of it, and, like, if you're peeking corners or whatever, sure. But, like, people who just, like, walk around charging the right-click constantly very much annoy me. It's a whole thing that I've gone over, like, 1 billion times, so I'm not gonna get into it again, but you can fight me. If you think Zenyatta's right-click is a good ability, you can fight me. I will fight. I'll set up a booth in the street. I will fight anyone about anything for free. you can meet me in the pit, and we will talk about why Zenyatta's right-click is bad. I'm basically filling space because not much is happening. Like, we're sitting really far back. None of them can realistically get to us. We're playing out of line of sight of their Widowmaker. We're playing Zenyatta, basically. We have Transcord. We have Transcord up right now. Tracer's all up on our grill right now. Like, that's just, don't right-click like this. Like, we're in the middle of combat right now. Just be like left-clicking and putting orbs on people. Don't do this. There's no need. There's no need. By that point, we're kind of fucked because we're like, there's not very many places for us to go because Tracer's behind us and Winston's over on the side of us, and then there's a Widowmaker over that way. So it's just kind of like no matter which way we go, we're advancing into more danger. So we're pretty fucked by that point just because there's like nowhere for us to go. In general, positioning over on this side of the point is a little bit scary as Zenyatta because your options are more limited for areas to retreat, because over here, you can just back up this way, and the enemy team, if they want to chase you back there, they have to chase you really far away. So most of the time they won't, they'll just see you go through the checkpoint and then give up at that point, the choke point rather. Whereas if you're over here, your only option is to go back through the doorway behind you, but that's a narrow hallway that only has one exit in it, so it's easy to get killed running away there. And you can't go across this way because that's the entirety of the courtyard that you have to traverse, so positioning over here, quite scary. Standing over here, usually better for all supports because you're still out of the way. You can also keep an eye on this area, which is kind of important because if you're over here, you can't see what's going on in the hotel. So if you're over here, you can, and then if you see stuff happening there, you can just fall back away from it. You have more options. You have more options over here, and it's easier to retreat, basically, as well as being slightly easier to observe things. So, there's that. Anyway, so we get rezzed, and we managed to get... Mercy's dead, but because she rezzed us, we could transcendence the Graviton, so it all works out perfectly fine. See, like, this is a very scary place to get forced into, especially if the enemy team has aggressive heroes on it, like a Winston, which they usually do, because they'll just come down the hallway at you, and there's nothing you can do, because there's nowhere for you to really go in there. So, Mercy has gotten back... All's well. They're already through half their time. They've only got... It's King's Row, so it doesn't take them long to regroup. They've probably got 3 or so pushes left in them at this point, assuming they happen relatively quickly and not super staggered, which they will be, realistically, but in an ideal world, they would get 3 more attempts at this. So, someone on their team just got nano-boosted. Here's Winston. We call out that we need help, but we end up just kind of killing him ourselves anyway. Now he's live again. So... this falling back away from the danger. We're playing Zenyatta, so we can be really far back. This is a great place to be standing if you're getting aggressed upon on King's Row, because it's like not really feasible for them to get to you back here, because they have to go so out of their way to get to you. So now we just sit back here throwing orbs at people. We start going on to the point, well, we shouldn't really be doing this because this is getting kind of scary. We even know they have a Widowmaker right now. We're just kind of trekking across open space. We could have just been staying back over here, like, the entire time. But we exposed ourselves for, like, no reason. So we just heard Widowmaker use her ultimate, so that's very important. Don't do this. Because you should die for that. Because we heard her use her ultimate, so she is gonna see us coming around the corner. She shouldn't fail to kill you in that position. She should kill you for that. But, she's bad. That's the great equalizer in Overwatch. The enemy team can always be worse. So we have Transcendence again. They've only got 1 push left, and it's probably gonna be pretty strained and forced because they haven't got much time left anyway. So, Winston's coming in, nano-boosted, but they don't really have anything else to carry the momentum through with them, and now we just use this. Zarya probably only just got her ultimate, and then used it on us, but we had Transcendence, so not much happened. So, there wasn't much to say about the Zenyatta thing. We didn't get... Oh god, Jesus Christ. What was that? What was it recommending to me? Because I didn't look like something I would watch. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that one. What else we got? We got Secret of Mana. Okay. We got Polybus, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't know what's up with YouTube, man. Alright, anyway. Like, what's up with this? Whatever. So, not much to say about Zenyatta, other than, like, some positioning stuff, basically, and, like, I hate the right-click a lot, but don't use the right-click less. So, there wasn't really, like, anything huge that stood out to me in this game. It was, funnily enough, even though we only played McCree for, like, a minute, that was, like, the one I had the most to say about, funnily enough, isn't it? There was no, like, huge thing that really stood out to me. It was mostly, like, the smaller things that we kind of talked about as they happened. So I don't really have any, like... Yeah, here's, like, a big overarching issue to point out. It's just, like, all the smaller stuff that we talked about as it happened. Which, I mean, you estimated this, like, to be mid-higher plat SR, so it tends to be more about the smaller optimizations at that point, and less about, like, these huge, sweeping issues by that point. So... thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.